They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. But in one bitter divorce case, a single picture became worth 1,000,000. This isn't just another courtroom drama. It's the story of how one hidden image completely shifted the balance of power between two people who once vowed to love each other forever. Welcome to today's video. Before we dive deep into this unbelievable story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, where we bring you powerful, real-life tales that leave you speechless and questioning everything you thought you knew. It started like many love stories. Sarah and Daniel appeared to be the perfect couple. Successful careers, a beautiful home, and what looked like a strong marriage. But behind the smiles and vacations they shared on social media, cracks were forming. Arguments became louder. The distance between them grew, and eventually they found themselves sitting across from each other at a table with divorce papers in hand. For Daniel, the divorce was about protecting his wealth. As a successful entrepreneur, he was worth millions, and he believed he had carefully shielded his fortune with prenuptial agreements and airtight contracts. Sarah, however, felt betrayed and undervalued after years of standing by his side, and she was determined to claim what she believed was rightfully hers. Lawyers prepared for a brutal battle until the picture emerged. At first, no one thought much of it. A photograph discovered on Sarah's phone during the legal discovery phase. But this was no ordinary picture. It was an image that told a story Daniel never expected to face in court. It wasn't just a memory frozen in time. It was evidence. Evidence so powerful that it had the potential to turn the entire case upside down. The picture showed Daniel in a compromising situation, one that could question his credibility, his honesty, and even his financial declarations. His attorneys immediately fought to keep the photo out of court, but the opposing side argued it was directly relevant to the case. What was once just a personal memory had now transformed into a weapon in a million-dollar battle. And as the court prepared to decide whether this photograph would be admissible, both Sarah and Daniel knew that everything, money, reputation, and even the way they would be remembered, rested on a single image. This was no longer just a divorce. It was a war fueled by betrayal, strategy, and one shocking piece of evidence. And the shocking part? The story of this photo had only just begun. The tension in the courtroom was suffocating. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the judge as arguments about the photograph unfolded. Daniel's legal team insisted it was irrelevant, an invasion of privacy, something that should never see the light of day in a divorce hearing. Sarah's lawyers, however, argued that the photo wasn't just about personal choices. It was about honesty, integrity, and financial transparency. You see, the picture wasn't simply a casual snapshot. It revealed Daniel with someone he had failed to disclose, a person connected to questionable business dealings. This single image raised doubts, not only about his personal life, but also about the accuracy of his financial disclosures. If Daniel was hiding relationships, what else might he be hiding? Assets? Accounts? Undisclosed wealth? The courtroom gasped when the photo was finally described aloud. It was no longer just about a failed marriage. It was about trust shattered, lies exposed, and a millionaire whose carefully built image was crumbling before everyone's eyes. Sarah sat calmly, her expression unreadable, while Daniel shifted uncomfortably, knowing his perfect facade had been pierced. Reporters outside the courthouse quickly caught wind of the story, turning the divorce into a public spectacle. Headlines screamed about the million-dollar picture, and suddenly, the couple's private pain was splashed across national media. What was supposed to be a personal legal proceeding had become a trial in the court of public opinion. And in that court, The picture had already passed judgment. For Sarah, the photograph became more than evidence. It became a symbol of her fight for fairness. She argued she had sacrificed years supporting Daniel, only to be left with scraps while he lived extravagantly in secret. Her lawyers painted the photo as proof of betrayal, not only emotional, but financial. And with every passing day, the pressure mounted on Daniel to come clean. But Daniel was not ready to surrender. He launched his own counterattack, accusing Sarah of digging through his private life just to humiliate him. His team claimed the photo had been taken out of context and that Sarah's demands were driven by revenge rather than justice. The battle lines were drawn, sharper than ever. Behind the polished wood of the courtroom, whispers grew louder. Was this case about money, or was it about revenge? Was the picture truly evidence of hidden wealth, or just a weapon in a bitter emotional war? One thing was certain. This divorce was no longer about the end of a marriage. It was about exposing the truth, whatever it cost. And that cost, as both Sarah and Daniel would soon discover, was far greater than either of them ever imagined, because the picture had already changed everything. And soon, the judge would have to decide just how much power one single image could hold in the fight over millions. The trial entered its most intense stage. Evidence was piled high on both sides, but nothing seemed to eclipse the power of that one photograph. The judge, usually composed and unshaken, leaned forward with interest whenever the subject returned to the picture. Lawyers clashed, voices rose, and the gavel struck more times in those days than anyone could count. Sarah's lawyers emphasized again and again that the photo was not just a personal scandal, it was the key to understanding Daniel's hidden world. They connected the dots between Daniel's lavish lifestyle, unreported assets, and the person in the photo who allegedly managed offshore accounts. Suddenly, the divorce was not only about dividing property, it was about potential fraud, lies under oath, and the possibility of perjury. Daniel's defense team, on the other hand, worked relentlessly to discredit the photo. They called experts to the stand, questioning the authenticity of the image. Was it digitally altered? Was the context manipulated? They argued that Sarah was waging a smear campaign, using personal pain to ruin Daniel's reputation in business and society. But the problem was, the more Daniel fought, the more the cracks in his story began to show. In cross-examination, he stumbled over dates, contradicted himself on his travel history, and grew visibly irritated whenever pressed about his finances. Meanwhile, Sarah remained calm, collected, and consistent in her testimony. The contrast was undeniable, and the jury of public opinion outside the courtroom took notice. Television cameras captured Sarah walking confidently into court each morning, while Daniel appeared increasingly tense and defensive. Talk shows debated the case, social media buzzed with theories, and the world seemed captivated by the drama of one picture that held the power to decide millions. The turning point came when Sarah's legal team unveiled a set of documents allegedly tied to the figure in the photo. Bank records, email exchanges, and receipts began to paint a troubling picture, suggesting Daniel had been moving money in ways that contradicted his sworn financial disclosures. The courtroom was silent, every word echoing like thunder. For Daniel, the walls were closing in. His wealth, his reputation, and his legacy all seemed to be slipping away because of one moment captured in time. He whispered furiously with his lawyers, but even they seemed shaken by the mounting evidence. And through it all, Sarah sat silently, her eyes fixed on the judge, never once glancing at her ex-husband. To her, this was not about vengeance. It was about justice, about reclaiming dignity after years of deception. The judge called for a recess, the gavel slamming with finality. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, shouting questions into the crisp air. Could one picture really cost a millionaire everything? Was this the end of Daniel's empire? Or would his lawyers find one last maneuver to save him? The answer was coming. And when the court reconvened, the battle for truth, money, and respect would reach its most dramatic and unforgettable climax. The courtroom was packed when the trial resumed. Journalists, curious citizens, and legal analysts filled every seat, waiting for the final act of this high-stakes battle. The atmosphere buzzed with tension, as if everyone knew something monumental was about to happen. Sarah's legal team returned with quiet confidence. They submitted the last piece of evidence, a sworn statement from an independent financial investigator confirming that Daniel had indeed concealed assets. And the photo, the very picture that had sparked weeks of fierce debate, was officially authenticated. The expert testified that no digital manipulation was found, no trick of editing. It was real. What Daniel had dismissed as a smear turned out to be the undeniable truth. Daniel's face paled as the weight of the revelation sank in. His defense team tried to recover, but their arguments fell flat against the hard evidence. The judge listened, expression firm but solemn, as both sides gave their closing statements. Then came the verdict. The judge ruled in Sarah's favor, granting her a substantial share of the estate, citing Daniel's dishonesty as a deciding factor. His credibility had crumbled, and with it, the fortune he fought so desperately to protect. The gavel struck, and in that moment, the battle was over. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Reporters rushed outside to deliver the breaking news, headlines forming almost instantly. Millionaire brought down by one photograph. Sarah, calm and poised, walked out with her head high, while Daniel avoided the cameras, slipping out a side exit, his empire shaken, his reputation scarred forever. The photo had done what words alone could not. It revealed a hidden life, exposed a network of lies, and shifted the scales of justice. One frozen moment in time, worth $1 million in the divorce battle, had rewritten the ending of their story. But beyond the wealth and scandal, this trial carried a deeper message. Sometimes, truth hides in plain sight, waiting for the courage to bring it forward. Sometimes, one piece of evidence can change everything, not just in court, but in life. Trust, once broken, leaves scars far greater than financial loss. And secrets, no matter how deeply buried, have a way of coming to light. If there's one lesson to carry away from this story, it's this: honesty matters, both in the courtroom and in the relationships we hold closest. Lies may provide temporary power, but the truth always waits, patient and relentless. Thank you for staying with us through this dramatic story. If you found it gripping, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more powerful tales like this. Stories that reveal the hidden twists of human lives and the lessons they leave behind. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.